it's the next level.
Yep. Definitely pregnant.
Well, that much we figured.
It's just kind of taken us by surprise. Just kind of suddenly, quite suddenly, wasn't it? I mean, practically overnight. I mean, how did this happen?
You see, when a man and a woman love each other very much.
Well, we're just tickled pink. Or blue.
You're at about 4 months now. Is that right?
Hey, welcome back to the show, panelers. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this is a spoiler-filled episode of Season 1, Episode 3 of WandaVision. So, Steve, take it away as far as what this episode's about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that we finally have episode titles. So this is Episode 3, now in color. And just a short little quick synopsis. That's Wanda's pregnancy fritzes her powers as she and Vision prepare for an accelerated delivery.
Yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah, definitely. For the fact that we finally get episodes for this episode, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Because when we covered the first 2 episodes, we got nothing.
Yeah.
They were kind of blank. It was just episode 1, episode 2. And I like the 70s look and the Brady house as an interior. Plus, we get the AstroTurf grass outside in the backyard, like the Brady's house. But there's so many other anomalies going on within the 70s theme within this particular episode that we'll get into later.
Absolutely. I really love that I called it last week. I mentioned Love American Style, that TV show from the 70s. And sure enough, that's exactly what that opening theme was, in the same style as Love American Style. I actually looked it up, and it is. I mean, it's similar to the Brady Bunch opening as well, but the Brady Bunch didn't have lines around the boxes, and Love American Style did, and did those things on the side. And so I thought that was really, really cool. And the theme song was very Love American Style type of theme song. So I was kind of proud of myself for that. So
yeah, it was very similar. So it's like it didn't have Love the American Style, red, white, and blue.
Right.
And they would have all the boxes and everything. Cool. I'm sorry, we're showing our age. But you know, I grew up on that. You grew up on that too. And we all knew that. And a lot of people I'm hoping that millennials, zennials, or whoever is watching the show will actually go back and look at those shows because they're available now. So that would be cool if they actually do that and see the comparison to this particular show. It would be amazing. But with that, we're just going to move on into our highlights or our top 5s of the WandaVision Season 1, Episode 3, and this time in color. Or now in color, I should say.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Nielsen, I hope you're still able to make your trip.
Yes, my trip. I don't think we'll get away after all. Small towns, you know. So hard to escape.
So do you want to start us off, or should I?
Sure. Either way, I can start. I loved the whole doctor kind of starting to explain the birds and the bees to them. He's like, when a man loves a woman, and they're like, no. And just how condescending he was. And he was very much, it was definitely
Of the age.
Yeah, of that 70s type of stuff. And he's very condescending to Wanda when he's taking to her about her pregnancy. And we describe it like fruit. And, but then, of course, he has that really ominous line towards the end of the episode with Vision where he says, I think I've got the actual quote down below, but he basically says that you can't get out of this small town, or you're never getting out of this small town. So really one of those, there was a really great balance between the humor and that kind of weird ominousness of the episode. So I was really happy about it. But I can see how some people would have some issues.
Yeah, that whole thing, I actually had that in my notes about how the doctor said you can never get out of this. And that this whole thing, it was like a, kind of an awareness, and we'll get into that later. But the first thing that hit me was Vision's speed diapering on that doll. The nervousness of him with the expecting baby, especially with the calculation of when it will come. It'll be Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then, that was way off.
Yeah. Well, I didn't take into account the blah, 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 whatever. I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he was like, you could see that he was even getting kind of frazzled there. So I love that too, because that leads right into my number 4, which is Vision. Is we finally get some response from him about realizing that something is wrong. I mean, I said that in the first 2 episodes, it seemed like he was oblivious to this strange world, and that Wanda was the only one who saw the strangeness around them. But here, he sees Herb cutting the cement wall, and even when he tells him about it, Herb doesn't stop. But it was funny too, though, when he had that little discussion. There's that moment, there's a little blip when he does start to realize something's wrong. There's like a little blip, and we get another rewind like what we had last episode of him repeating something. But instead of saying, there's something weird going on here, he comes back with, well, these are unprecedented times,
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really interesting so it's kind of, I'm still really curious about this, whether he's, whether they're trapped in something. And I'm sure we'll talk some more about that, because with the way it ended.
Well, this is kind of out of context with mine, but we'll get into where you were talking, because that actually, I could actually I'll add on to the whole Herb thing. It's pretty funny too, because he was hedging clips, and then when Vision actually approaches him about it, he's like, oh, ha ha ha, and he's still cutting into it. Mind you, you do realize, it's kind of foam rubber that he's cutting into with this hedge clipper, but they're putting in the sparks of the of the hedge clipper going through the brick.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is that we know this isn't reality, and that's the whole point. And I enjoy that aspect of it. But when I get into my notes later on about Herb and Agnes, when he approaches them, it's a very interesting and twisting tale. Yeah. But my 4th one goes a little bit out of perspective of like a consecutive top 4 or top 5 of what we have. So my 4th one is Geraldine talking about Pietro after Wanda mentioned that she was a twin. Geraldine mentioned that he was killed by Ultron, which sets Wanda off. She talks about her brother initially, which really triggers that whole thing with the conversation with Geraldine, but then realizes that someone got in her world from the outside, and how she dispatches Geraldine and realizes the necklace she was wearing was a sword emblem, because we concentrate on that. So it seems like there are outside forces. And I'm going to dip into my notes about this, because they state, Herb and Agnes states that she doesn't have a house. She doesn't have any place to live. So basically she just comes in whenever convenient. So it makes me think that maybe Agnes and Herb are trapped in this world and are aware of it, and that this is what Wanda is concocting in her own world and her own power, as it were. Because at that very end, and obviously, listeners, this is spoiler filled, so you're gonna get like a ton of stuff. At the very end, we see this big whole concoction of like this massive landscape being engulfed by like fencing, and a building and everything else.
Well, and the cars that approach her are more modern day cars. The Westview sign is a more modern Westview sign. So, something has definitely happened to this town, whether Sword has taken it over or whether Wanda's powers have taken it over. But Geraldine was my number 1, and I thought there's a whole lot going on there.
Yeah.
With her, and because remember, it's funny because when Herb and Agnes are talking to Vision, Agnes describes Geraldine as a strong lady because she's here with no family and she doesn't have, all this, and she's single, and she says she's a strong lady. And that cuts right to Wanda and Geraldine telling Wanda that she's a strong lady. And and that's when the whole thing happens, and Wanda tells her to leave and get out, and we see her get thrown out of whatever is surrounding this town, whether it's a bubble or a force shield or something. We see her get thrown out, and she lands on the ground, and she's still looking in that 70s kind of attire. Yeah, but the people that are approaching her are definitely more modern day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like you said, if she, we have to get more information. We just don't have enough information to determine how did she get in there. Did Wanda is everyone in there someone that Wanda has pulled in there, or is this something that's been created to contain Wanda? I don't know. That's
Well, like I stated before when we covered the last 2 episodes, this is leading up to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness movie. Mm-hmm. So obviously Wanda is a huge part of that particular movie because it throws the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe into out of whack. It just creates everything. Now, there are people that speculate there is this whole thing of the House of M, and in the comic book series in Marvel, the House of M regarded where Wanda says no more mutants, but I think in this particular world, there are mutants and she creates them.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me because I don't know the comics at all.
I know.
And so it's interesting when you bring those things up, because there's certainly elements that they can bring into this series and into the bigger MCU that are not from the comics.
Exactly.
And so everything that we would say is just speculation. If you pull out something from the comics and go, well, this happened in this way in the comics, they're not necessarily going to do it that way in the MCU.
Yeah, they could change it to whatever they want. For the longest time, we knew that Wanda and Pietro, of all things, that she brought up within this particular episode, were enhanced. That's what they called them. Were enhanced people.
Right. That was in Ultron. In
Ultron.
Age of Ultron, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So listeners, if you haven't watched Age of Ultron, do so, and then start watching the first 3 episodes again to get an idea of where Wanda and Pietro were, and then you'll figure out, it's like, oh, okay. Because if you're interested in comics and you're going to go back in and look into it, Pietro and Wanda in the comic book series were the daughter and son of Magneto, who was a big supreme mutant. He was a superior mutant, and along with Professor X. But the thing is, within the series, we only have them as 2 siblings that were in Sokovia that were quote-unquote enhanced. Mm-hmm. So they might be manipulating what's going on to be kind of mimicking or altering the whole cinematic universe to reflect a little bit. I'm not saying a big bunch, but a little bit to the comic book series, so that to placate to, me, who is like a comic book fan, but also to give a little bit more where we can have mutants. Like we could have Wolverine, we could have Professor X, we have Cyclops, we have Jean Grey, Bobby, who is the Iceman, or, Beast. And we could have all these characters now. And eventually we will be getting those within the MCU. So I think this is the new iteration of where they're going to create this, so that way we could actually have those characters. Because all we had before the MCU at that point was the Fox version of what the X-Men were, or mutants. And that was their version, and Disney has bought that out, or Marvel Disney has bought that out. So now we have a way of bringing them into this fold. And I think that's their way of like, okay, well, we can manipulate and alter this universe to bring those into this fold. So I'm thinking, but I'm also thinking that Wanda is very strong with her powers. And this is kind of where Sword comes in. And I think I brought it up last episode when we talked about the first 2 episodes of what Sword stood for. And, where it was instead of sentient world observation, reconnaissance, or whatever, this is sentient worlds. I'm forgetting, but
well, here's the thing, though. Is that from the comics? Is that from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Or is that from, because we haven't actually seen Sword in the MCU yet. We haven't heard, or no. Is that what? So we don't really know at this point. Any acronym words we give to it, they could completely do
change
something
it.
different.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I'm
is
saying?
true.
That's why I'm saying we haven't actually heard SWORD. I mean, we've seen the emblem, but we haven't actually heard what the acronym stands for. Now we know in the comics, right, that that was the next iteration after SHIELD got disbanded.
Yes, it was.
And that was definitely going that direction from Spider-Man, right? And the last one where they had where we found out that the scroll was pretending to be, was that Captain Marvel or
Captain Marvel. Yeah.
But anyway, so there's a whole, this is such a huge universe and world that we just have to trust that as they're doling it out to us, we'll learn more and more. And it's really great theories, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
And they could turn out to be true, but a lot of it
it's all speculation.
Exactly. Until we actually get it revealed and it's just going to be speculation and everything.
But we'll move on to the actual show itself.
Yeah.
So that way we know what's going on within the show itself. So
I absolutely loved the whole Calgon take me away type commercial with the mom and the bubble bath and all that. And then I love how what was it called? Hydro Soak.
Yep.
Hydro Soap. So I thought that was really cool. And then it cuts comes back to Wanda doing her blow drying thing. And her hair is blowing and Vision is bending back. I thought they did, like I said earlier, I thought they did a really great job with the humor in this episode.
A lot of people don't get the humor or understand what's going on because they're not really familiar with the MCU or even the comics. So a lot of people are split at this point.
And I know some people are turned off by the different sitcom type elements that they're seeing as tropey and, oh, that's so outdated. Well, that's the point. The point of it is that it's outdated. You know, that's the whole, I mean, it blows my mind when I read people's comments like that going, oh, I can't believe it's so outdated and this and that. It's meant to be. It's you can call it a homage, you can call it whatever you want, but they're specifically trying to do that. So it's not
specifically doing it.
And it's not like it just that frustrates me when that's the thing that people are turned off by. You're turned off by the specific thing that the show is about. Well, that's fine. That's your opinion. You're allowed to have it. So.
Everybody's allowed to have that. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't realize is also that people like me or yourself, that we look into that and know and understand the whole cinematic universe as it is. This is probably, and I mentioned it last podcast where, with Wanda, she growing up in a European country where all they had was American television. This is probably everything that she thought that what real America was.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's a great thought. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is her go-to for feeling comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that's what's going on within her mind. It's like to ease her own mind, but she's not aware of what's going on in the real world.
Yeah, again, that's more that speculation.
That's more speculation.
What I love is it's really brilliant writers that are doing this because each show so far has been a different decade of sitcom.
I love it.
And so it shows that they're stretching that. And so I can't wait until we get, further along and see where it takes us into new and different levels of sitcoms. So I'm in, man. I know people are turned off by it, but that's,
you have to realize it's like a lot of people, some people are going to get hip to it or some people are just not into it, and I understand that completely. And if you listeners are out there and you want to send feedback on how you felt, do so, please. We'll leave that at the very end. But with my number 3, I felt it like it was something out of Rosemary's Baby when Wanda was going through those contractions during birth. At that point, everything is going so wacky, the picture's spinning and the ceiling lamp falling down. That was a really cool thing. I thought it was pretty funny, and it catered to the characters, catered to the actual what's going on within the episode, and the fact that it's like Vision mentions, he goes, well, how long does it take for what fruit would it be after 12 hours? Those things. It was pretty funny how fast it went. It was so quick. It was so cool.
Yeah. I love that all of her powers kind of go, and the stork appearing out of nowhere and just wandering around in the background there when she's talking to Geraldine, and the way her coat was changing.
Yep.
during the contractions was hilarious.
Raincoat at one point.
Yeah, a raincoat, and then she's got a fur. She kind of strokes it like I like this one, and it was really, really cool. Just all the stuff with her powers. I think my water just broke and the whole house is just flooded.
Yep. Yeah, the rain symbolizes that whole situation. It's like, oh, my water broke. Water.
Yeah. yeah. I loved it. And like I said, I already mentioned the stork, kind of prancing around.
I love how it stops as soon as Geraldine walks into the room, and it's as if it's part of the wall as like some sort of painting.
Yeah. Well, it was because that's what she had painted. That's what Wanda had painted on the wall was a stork. So I thought that was kind of cool and all that. So yeah. Like I said, I just really love the humor in this. A lot of the humor in this one. So where are we?
You're number 2.
I did my number 2 because I talked about Wanda's.
Oh, all right. Then that's down to my number 2, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be Agnes and Herb talking to one another. Mm-hmm. Agnes is very curious about Geraldine and her talking to Vision about that. And they go into the whole, and I'm dipping into my notes at this point, where it's like, she stated to Vision going, hey, she doesn't have a house. She doesn't have a home. What do you mean? And even Vision didn't understand it. And there was something that they were both withholding. They were withholding some sort of information as if they were either trapped there or put there.
Yeah, it was definitely we're definitely have to learn more about it because I couldn't tell if she was trying to get information out of Vision or if she was trying to just give him information. And then, of course, you have it mentioned in your notes about Herb starting to say something about that we are all here or something like that. And then she stops him and tells him to stop talking. And so that we know that she has some sort of control over what's going on in here. She must, because she pops in it the way she pops in and out.
Oh, it makes me think about that. What was that episode in the Twilight Zone, the movie with the kid, where he controls the whole world around him and everybody's afraid of him?
Yeah, but like I said, I don't know if that's necessarily. I get it, and I get that it's definitely reminiscent of that. That if they're trying to keep Wanda from going out of control, but there's more to Agnes's character. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, kind of like what I was saying before, like the last episode when we talked the first two.
Yeah,
like I said, there was references towards Agnes being, and they do. Originally, when this first was presented about 2 months ago, that Catherine Hahn was listed as being Agatha Harkness.
Right.
And
so I definitely think that she's involved somehow.
To some degree.
There's more to her. She knows more about what's going on.
Which leads me to the one thing. We got a sneak peek months ago, I would say during the summer. Mm-hmm. When you do see Vision walk up to her car, she's dressed up as a witch for, I guess, for Halloween or something, and he's dressed up as Old Vision, like the comic book one, and she goes, "Oh, but you're dead."
Yeah, I remember.
And then she laughs, cackling, and
we haven't seen that yet in this
we have
series,
not seen it yet. Yeah, so it makes me think it's like she is more aware, but she has something to do with what's going on to some degree. I don't know.
Yeah. But, we've already talked about my number 1, which was Geraldine, but we'll talk a little bit more about Geraldine because I really, you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about the setup with this character of Geraldine. And when I went to IMDb and looked at, and I know IMDb is not the most credible source out there, listeners. So if you're like, don't look at IMDb. Yeah, whatever. But originally, when they had her listed in episode 3, they showed the cast and they showed her listed as Monica Rambeau, which would be the character from Captain Marvel, right? From the movie that we saw, the young girl,
that was
right?
Friends of
Captain Marvel's friend. Yeah. So originally they had it. Now, if you go and look at episode 3 on IMDb, it just says Geraldine. But if you go to episode 4, now it shows Monica Rambeau again. So I'm hoping we're gonna learn more in the next episode of what's going on outside of this bubble, because we definitely know that this world of Westview, for whatever reason, we can definitely tell from the end of the episode, it's contained. It's somehow contained in some kind of a force shield or Wanda's powers or something, because we see Geraldine get thrown out of that through the field. We see the Westview sign on the other side of that barrier is a more modern looking Westview sign than what we've seen on the show. The cars that approach her, the helicopters, they're all more modern day type stuff. So we can definitely see there's something going on outside of that town, and that town is somehow contained in some sort of force. And I think, I hate to say, be critical of this, because I like how they're doing it, but it's almost going too slow. Like they're almost taking too much time to reveal. With these are only 30-minute episodes, you got to give us some more information.
Exactly.
And so if we don't get something in the next episode that involves the outside world, I think people are going to be disappointed, because we've already
disappointed for the. I think like more snippets towards the end of the episode would help us a little bit more.
Yeah,
but I think since this was delayed, and the same thing with Falcon and Winter Soldier, as well as Black Widow, a lot is missing at this point, because there's a lot of things to fill in those gaps that we just don't have because of everything that's going on in this world. And it really stinks, but they really wanted to get this out to the people because everybody's been dying for it. We need good television at this point. And, I think Disney at this point is trying to grasp and try to give us some sort of entertainment at this point. But, I hate the idea. It's kind of like that whole Walking Dead thing where, oh, well, we're not finished with season 10 yet, but it took us how many months to get to the final episode? And then now we're going to get a few, like maybe 6 episodes of an extended of the new season, but we don't get...
of season 10. They're considered season 10 episodes. That's for sure. We know that for sure.
I know that.
So,
you know that and I know that. But the thing is, originally it was set for that one final episode.
Right.
But the thing is that at least they gave us those little sneak peeks of giving us episodes in between before the true season 11 happens. But with this now, they're on a clock of where they have everything financed and they have to have these movies set forth for their story to continue. Now they're delaying a lot of things, and it really stinks for the fact that us, the viewers, have to wait so long in between. Yeah. So now we have to wait. It's like, but we'll get into that a little bit later because I
think we're already getting into it. So, but no, we need to get back to WandaVision.
Let's get back into WandaVision.
Off track.
Yeah.
So what is your number one, your final?
That would be the final image of Geraldine coming out of the round dimensional portal. That was immense. And the fact that we do see her being expulged out of that thing.
Right. Right.
She's thrown out there. You could see the look on her face. She still has that kind of 70s African-American woman's fro going around.
Right.
And the heavy makeup. But yet you have all the Jeeps, the helicopters, everything surrounding her.
We've talked a lot about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the thing is that, my feeling is, what is that? Is that near the Avengers compound? We already see fencing around something that's there. Was that something that was created near the Avengers compound? Because the last time we ever saw Wanda was near the Avengers compound.
Yeah, it's been too long since I watched Endgame.
I know.
That I don't remember where she was at when she came back after the snap. So
yeah,
or after they brought everybody back. I don't remember them showing. Was she in that final Iron Man, that scene where they were saying goodbye? I can't remember. I'd have to rewatch Endgame. But yeah, I don't remember if she was there or not. But yeah, at this point we have no clue where this location is.
Exactly.
They've not given us anything. It could be.
I believe it's probably upstate New York somewhere.
Like I said, anything that we say is just speculation.
Speculation. So if you guys have better ideas, let us know.
Yeah. So the only note I have that we haven't already talked about is just I did think it was funny, especially the second time watching it, that babies when babies were born in sitcoms in the 70s and really sometimes into the 80s. I think maybe with Bill Cosby and Dr. Huxtable was really when we started to see the messiness of babies being born.
Oh yeah.
And so they always came out super clean, and there's no mess and there's no blood. And I just thought that was, the deliveries are always very easy, and that was just a normal thing of sitcoms. That if you had a woman giving birth, it was going to be just it was just going to happen and the baby was going to come out already in a blanket and, you know, kind of thing.
What are you talking like cousin?
No, just like babies, like in reality, I've never seen a baby being born, but in reality, they don't.
Oh, they just show up.
They're messy. They're messy. It's bloody. You have to cut things. You know, it's whereas in TV shows, especially 20, 30 years ago in TV shows, when babies were born, it was just like, oh, there it is. It just pops out.
And he's clean.
And he's clean. There's nothing else we have to do. Just wrap him up in a towel or in a blanket and go on about the business, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty funny how it's like, you know, even Vision is there holding the baby and it's all clean and proper. And then he goes to give her a kiss and then she screams in his face.
Yeah, when the second one's coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like even still, the second baby is just as clean.
Right.
So, yeah, it's pretty funny. It's like movie magic or TV magic, as it were.
Exactly. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, part of my notes would be the montage in the beginning. I thought it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. But why so many burgers for 2 people, Vision? Come on, you don't eat, you know? And the next one, you already brought it up, the doctor stating that he can't leave.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Truman Show. It's like he knew something. Last bit would be Herb's cutting the hedges, but you already talked about it.
Right, we already talked about that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. But, yeah, there's so many aspects about this, and I'm sure all you listeners have the same thoughts and same views, and, you know, and you just want to be like, we want to talk about this, so we should talk about it soon.
Yeah.
With that, we should move on to quotes.
Sure.
All right. You want to start off?
Sure. When right before the power went out, we see Phil, and I think that was Dottie, and she says, "Phil, do these earrings make me look fat?" As soon as the power goes out, he was like you didn't have to answer that question.
Yeah, you gotta love that. Who was that? That was.
I think that was Phil and Dottie. I think
Phil
that's
and Dottie.
Her.
It was
yeah.
Dottie. Yeah. We mentioned her.
Emma Caulfield. Yeah.
Emma Caulfield. Yep, that's it. Yep. Yeah, at least we know she's okay. She didn't really hurt, you know, her hand wasn't hurt so bad.
Yeah.
From last episode. My first one would be from Wanda. I said, I think this line of questioning is fruitless.
Yeah.
And that was from due to the doctor equating everything within birth due to being fruits and different sizes of fruits. So I thought that was cool.
And then we've been talking about it, but the exact quote from the doctor there at the end is "Small towns so hard to escape," is what he says.
Yeah, which is foreboding if you think it, or foreshadowing at this point. So we'll find out later on. The last one I would have would be Vision saying, I can't wait to be a proud papaya.
Yeah.
Instead of papaya.
Yeah.
Well, there was no feedback this week, but in regular news, I would like to highly recommend anyone who is a Norman Reedus fan or Walking Dead fan to pick up his Big Bald Gallery, The Art of Norman Reedus, and it can be found on his website, bigbaldgallery.com. With that, all the profits from this book are currently being donated to the COVID-19 Relief Fund. So if you have any money to spare and enjoy his artwork, I recommend it highly. I bought one. It was $150, but I do enjoy Norman's artwork. With that, when you do purchase the book, you get an autographed 8x10 within it by Norman, and there is somebody in the book that played a whisperer as well, who actually just friended me on Facebook of all things too. So I mentioned him that we would recommend the book and everything else. So I recommend if you could go to bigbaldgallery.com and just, if you have the money, like I said, I know everybody's fixed for money and everything, but Big Bald Gallery and the Art of Norman Reedus. And it's Art in the Woods. So it's a pretty decent book. They have a cheaper version. You could get that. You don't get the 8x10. But, you know, all the proceeds go to the COVID-19 Relief Fund. So do that if you can. So with that, we're going to move into a little bit of comic news. So I mentioned before, kind of alluded to it, Shang-Chi is apparently going to be on Disney Plus as well as in the theaters. I think Disney is thinking ahead at this point, so there's still talk about Black Widow coming to Disney Plus as well as a same-day release within the theaters because they have to make that money back, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody has to make money, and if they people are not going to the theaters, they're not going to be able to make these movies. So they're kind of riding on what's left of their money or what's coming from within Disney Plus. So the more Disney Plus subscribers, the more that they could actually do these movies. But it's kind of hard within what's going on in today's events. So, if where they used to make billions upon billions of dollars with the movies being in the theaters, we're not making that. We're not seeing that. Movie theaters are not, a lot of places are not open. So if you're able to go out to the theater, do so. If you feel the need that you have to watch these movies on Disney Plus or whatever streaming app you can, do so. But support them as much as you can, because without them, we wouldn't have the entertainment that we have from these companies. So, just move along and just try to do your best to help these people give the entertainment that we need.
I agree. Totally.
Yeah. Also, before we get into podcast recommendations, both you and I actually sent into TV Podcast Industries, and I got to listen to it.
Oh, nice. I haven't listened to it yet. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I haven't listened to this one yet. So
it was for the second episode. I did for the first two.
Oh yeah.
But I had mentioned that Clint Barton was a possible voice that was on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking ahead, and I'm thinking maybe it was Agent Jimmy Woo from former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was recruited into the FBI that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Remember, he came out.
Yeah, we talked about this. We talked about this last week.
Yeah. So I'm thinking it might be him. That might be the voice of who's on the radio, still more so now, because I got to rewatch the episode and I got to really think about it. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like more like Jimmy Woo. That would be amazing, though. But, if you guys have any ideas, let us know, because, oh man, I keep racking my brain. I think I watched the first 3 episodes twice at least already.
Yeah. Well, and that's just another one of those things that they're just going to have to reveal to us eventually. So
yeah. So with podcast recommendations, what do you have, Steve?
The only one I've got this week is Ben and Kristen are back with their We Have to Go Back Lost Revisited podcast. That's a joint podcast between the Podcasting Network and this network, the Next Level Online Network. So check out Ben and Kristen if you're a fan of Lost. If you just like listening to them, they're great.
Awesome. Well, first one for me would be Field to Screen with Alex Baelish, and he has just started with his podcast about sports movies, that are based, it's basically sports-based, movies. So you could check that out. He can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Pandora, and a bunch of other podcast players. So I suggest checking him out. The next one would be Daphne and Paik on Run for Your Lives. They cover monster movies, disaster movies, and all that make you want to run for your lives. So check them out on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. The last episode that was up, actually you sent in some feedback, which was Attack the Block. And I thought that was great. I have that actually on Blu-ray, that movie. And they're moving forward with, I believe, The Descent. So check that out if you can. That should be up by the time this episode comes out. So check them out. Then you got Reba and Ben, and occasionally Paik when he comes on for the Stand review on Strange Indeed on the Podcasting Network. And they are covering The Stand that is currently on CBS All Access. So I think they're on episode 5. Check that out if you can. So also check out Talk Through Media with their content as well, with Brian, Kyle, and Ruthie, and they are still at it with the Star Trek Discovery and Lower Decks coverage. So check them out as well if you can. Even though I left the network for Talk Through Media, I still do like what they're doing. So if you could give them a love and you're really interested in Star Trek, do so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can be heard on Spotify, Google Play, pretty much any Apple Podcast, pretty much any podcast player of choice that you have out there. If you have a chance to give us a review, please do that. You can also check us out on panelstopixelspodcast.com. That's our website. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/panelstopixels. You can email us at panelstopixels1@gmail.com. It's panelstopixels1, the TO spelled out right in the middle, and the number 1@gmail.com. We are also on YouTube, so you can search for Panels to Pixels podcast in there and give us a thumbs up. Next week, we will have another episode of WandaVision, and we may tack on the first episode of season 2 of Snowpiercer as well, which Snowpiercer comes out this Monday on the TNT network. You can check that out. So hopefully we'll have both those in one podcast for you next week.
Awesome. So where can listeners hear us? Well, I can be found right here on Panels of Pixels, as well as sending out audio feedback to other podcasts that I love that my friends do. So you can also hear me on my other podcast called Adrenaline Cinema on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. The podcast is about those action and adventure films, pure action films, suspense films, and anything that thrills you or gets your adrenaline moving. So you could check us out there, or like I always state, Panels to Pixels will remain on the Next Level Podcast Network. So stay tuned here, and we'll keep you up to date, or just check out the Pirate Core Entertainment Network website.
And I love watching a lot of TV, and I love hearing my own voice, apparently. So I will be here on Panels to Pixels always, and I send in voicemails to various other podcasts that my friends do.
Exactly. So with that, that's our coverage for WandaVision Season 1, Episode 3. I just want to thank everyone for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.